Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube. It has been a minute. I've been on vacation. I've been doing some different things, so I am so glad to be back. Guys, this is gonna be a continuation of the previous video, so if you... My hair is just like not cooperating. Mother Nature is cheering me on today in today's video, which is pretty cool. As I was saying, this is going to be a continuation of the previous video. So today we are going to be going over exactly how I was able to start developing a relationship with myself, to listen to my body and get to my body goals, not momentarily, but long term. And this has nothing to do with specific routines or specific workouts, and has everything to do with breaking toxic patterns and rewiring your mind to create the identity of the version of yourself that has the dream body and is able to keep it. So the best thing that you can do for yourself in order to achieve any goal across the board is learning the skill of pattern recognition. The main reason as to why we can't seem to get to our goals, or we get to goals and then we revert right back, or we lose exactly what we end up achieving, is because we have toxic patterns ingrained in our mental programming that keep us from being able to get to our goal and sustain it long term. Your bad habits, your bouts of inconsistency, your lack of discipline, whatever characteristic you feel you carry that's keeping you from achieving what you want to achieve, is simply a brain pattern ingrained in you. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but life is literally a mirror. It is a mirror reflection of what you carry on the inside. Your inner world is literally a thermostat. So, for example, you could set a thermostat to 68 degrees. Whoa, the lightning is crazy right now. Anyways, you could set your thermostat to 68 degrees, and it doesn't matter if you open up doors, it doesn't matter if you have a radiator and you turn the heat on, it doesn't matter if you have fans blowing everywhere. Momentarily, that thermostat will go up or down, but it'll always reset back to 68. Your identity, your mental patterns work in the exact same way. So if my identity is rooted in inconsistency and old habits and patterns, it doesn't matter what weight I get to momentarily, or what workouts help me get there, or what meal plan I decide to take on. If I don't ingrain those habits into my identity, I'm always gonna reset back to where I started. Guys, I dealt with this for literally years. So the whole reason of me making this video to begin with is to actually allow you to not repeat the patterns and to end the cycle before I did, because if I knew the information that was in this video years ago, it would have saved me an immense amount of time. And once you learn the habit of pattern recognition and how to rewire your mind to change your identity, you're able to do it on command with any situation that you have that you want to change within your life and within yourself. For my physical goals, I've been in the fitness industry for literally years. It started with hitting protein goals, then it turned into tracking macros, then it turned into tracking calories. I was hitting workouts super consistently, always doing cardio. But the minute I would hit a new low or I would get to my weight goal, a little part of me was like, oh, we just hit a goal, let's celebrate. But the way that I would celebrate was reverting back to the old habits that kept me from getting to my goal to begin with. So I would revert back to smoking, and I would smoke, and then that caused me to binge and overindulge. Or I would go out, and one night of going out and maybe having a wine and a pizza at dinner turned into rationalizing multiple nights of going out, and then I would go 5 steps forward, 3 steps back. This was the constant cycle that I was in. Another thing that would consistently happen to me was I would go on vacation and it would completely throw me off track. So I grew like an emotional attachment to my routine and to my habits, to the point where whenever I was in a situation where I wasn't able to go about my exact routine, I would completely fall off. And then when I got back to reality, it would take me weeks, sometimes months, to get back into that flow state and get back into my routine, again, delaying my progress so much to the point where it was stupid. Setting up my light because it is way too dark. That's a lot better. So as I was saying, I would let vacation completely destroy my routine because I was emotionally attached to the structure and the routine. And then the minute that I didn't have it, I would revert right back to old habits and I would let them suck me in. And it would take me that much longer to get back on track, back on routine, and locked in again. My identity wasn't rooted in these habits and in this routine, I would also let other people throw me off track. So if I was out with friends or if I was out with family, that was another subconscious excuse for me to get off track, because I was almost embarrassed to say, no, I have a plan, or no, I don't want to eat that, or no, I don't feel like it. And so I was accommodating to other people and seeking other people's validation, and it was getting me farther from my goals and almost allowing me to rationalize me being this version of myself that I didn't want to be anymore. So the overarching theme in all these habits and all these behaviors was that I was convinced that the minute that I hit my goal, the minute that I look the way that I want, then I will have full freedom to be able to revert back to the habits that kept me from getting that goal in the first place. I thought that by tracking food and by going to the gym 5+ times a week and being ultra consistent and ultra disciplined was a temporary thing to get me to my goal. But then the minute that I got that goal, I would be able to revert right back. And looking back on it, it's just completely illogical and unsensical. It's almost like a millionaire, right? Dedicating all of his time and effort every single day and not enjoying a single thing about his life in order to make a certain amount of money. But then the minute he makes that certain amount of money, he reverts back to gambling or reverts back to spending all his money. And those are the exact habits that he had to break in order to become the millionaire in the first place. In this whole process, my body was changing. Even with the setbacks, I was making progress and feeling even more lost and far from the picture that I had on my vision board of the woman that I wanted to be, because I almost felt like I needed to do all these temporary things in order to be able to live a lifestyle of freedom, when really I just needed to find the balance to begin with. The whole point of this is that when I even started my fitness journey, I did not want to lose body fat. I did not want to build bigger glutes. What I wanted was to be the most confident version of myself anytime I walked into a room, anytime I looked into the mirror, anytime I had sex, anytime I was in a bikini. That is what I wanted to feel. But I was lied to in convincing myself that I had to do all these things and get the body first before I could feel those things. But in reality, the identity and the version of myself was not rooted in confidence. And therefore, even though I was hitting these weight goals, the fact that I was reverting back to old habits made me feel so stuck, feel so insecure compared to this confident version of myself that I thought the body was going to provide for me. First realization that I made was that I did not trust my vision whatsoever. I would look at my vision board and I saw like this perfect physique, but then on the other hand, I saw all these healthy, nutritious meals that genuinely looked amazing to me, but that I was not eating. I was pounding protein shakes all the time. I was eating these massive yogurt bowls, and I realized that my actions did not match the vision. Therefore, I didn't trust that the vision was who I truly was or who I truly could become to begin with. What led me to have this realization was I actually sat down with myself and asked myself the right questions. I laid out all my habits. I looked at my tracking. I looked at the way that I was moving my body. I looked at the things that I was saying to myself when I looked in the mirror. I looked at my cardio regimen and I said, does the version of myself on my vision board do these things? Does she track macros all the time? My answer was no, she doesn't have to track macros. Does she rigorously train 5 to 6 times a week all the time, no matter how she's feeling? No, deep down, I wanted to start exploring other things like yoga, like Pilates, like running, but I felt like I couldn't do those things until I had the body first, which again, looking back is completely illogical. And then when it comes to the cardio, I looked at my cardio and I was like, does the future version of me, does she do cardio? The answer was yes. But does she do cardio when she's on her period? Does her cardio always have to be a treadmill walk? Or does she find other ways to incorporate that cardio in? Looking back, I actually established a vision, and my vision wasn't just some pictures pasted on a vision board. It was actually, what do I want? What do these pictures mean? What do they look like in my daily life? And why am I convincing myself that I can't be that version of myself myself yet that I need a 6-pack of abs in order to be able to live that lifestyle. So once I started to realize that the actions that I was performing were not aligned with the highest and the future version of myself, I started to dig even deeper. And I started to ask myself, why do I want the body to begin with? Why do I want this number on the scale? What does that truly represent to me? And for me, it represented, again, feeling like the most confident version of myself, being able to wear whatever I want, being able to have sex without overthinking the process, being able to walk into any room with my head held high and not having to like flex my abs or suck in my stomach in pictures. The body genuinely meant so much more to me than just a number on the scale. Why am I basing my emotions off of a number on the scale? And where do these negative emotions stem from to begin with? And I dive deep into the exact questions that I ended up asking myself in my Method Workbook. But asking yourself the right questions made me realize that it wasn't the workout routine, it wasn't my stress, and it wasn't all these exterior things that I was reaching for. It was all within me already. And that led me to my third realization was, what exactly is holding me back? Because mentally, I'm not able to perform these habits based on a belief that isn't even true. So what is that belief and where does it even stem from? I came to the conclusion that the reason why I started the gym in the first place was because I was in a relationship where I was not getting attention and validation. And I was basing my worth off of my partner's attention and validation. So deep down, I felt like starting the gym and maybe getting better glutes and a flatter stomach was gonna allow me to get more attention and more validation. And now starting the gym and starting your journey is completely fine when it comes out of insecurity. But this pain was no longer being able to fuel me to the version of myself that I was looking to achieve. And so I realized my lack of trust and these insecurities are still showing up on a daily basis by convincing myself that I'm not where I want to be and that I'll never actually get there until I receive a level of validation that I need. But that level of validation was just completely nonsensical. Nobody is able to give you that much validation to replace the confidence that you need to have within yourself. I was almost forcing these results consistently in order to achieve this level of validation. And again, I was spinning in wheels and it just ended up stressing me out even more and completely dysregulating my nervous system. So I know I've touched on nervous system in the past. Your nervous system is essentially a system of nerves, LOL. Your brain and your nervous system were made to keep you safe. But obviously, like, we're not running around in the wild, like running from animals or needing to scavenge for food. So those systems are still within us. And due to evolution, they haven't completely left us yet, but what they do is they try to keep us safe emotionally. So what was happening was I was trying to force results to get this body, thinking that I would finally be safe once I had the body, because then I would finally have the amount of validation that I needed in order to feel safe. But the reality of it was, like I said before, no amount of validation is going to make you feel safe. The only way you make yourself feel safe is by trusting, is by digging into old wounds and healing yourself so that you can start to grow that confidence from yourself and not have to reach to external sources which are completely limited in order to feel that confidence and that safety. And with my nervous system being dysregulated, I would get up out of bed on my period, needing the rest, and I would still push myself and go to the gym and do all this cardio when it was completely unnecessary out of fear that I wasn't going to get to my goal because I didn't trust my vision. And again, I didn't trust the confidence that I had built within myself. This caused me, again, to force instead of flow. My body was actively retaliating against my actions, and this was leading me to high stress levels, inflammation, acne, a multitude of different symptoms that were caused by my brain and translating into my body. And then I thought that I could fix it by going outside of myself to fix the problem when the problem was starting with the mind to begin with. So my purpose for getting the body was out of pure insecurity, was out of pure pain, and it wasn't out of self-love. I go into a bit of nervous system regulation again in the workbook, which you guys will have access to. As you guys can see, the entire point of this video is to remind you that the body listens to the mind. The reason why you feel so far from your goals or feel like the habits that you've ingrained in yourself aren't aligned with the future version of you and that you're not able to get to your goals is because you have a mind that is not clear. What's holding you back is your mind, but you're constantly resorting to things outside of your mind in order to fix the problem, but you're only fixing it temporarily. Getting to the root of the problem is changing your mind, is changing your identity, and that's exactly what I had to do and exactly what the workbook I made guides you through. After multiple journal sessions, multiple meditations, allowing my mind to be clear and actually identifying what was the gap between where I'm at right now and where I want to be, I started to realize that there were so many false beliefs that were keeping me held back from the version of myself that I wanted to be. So the identity work was what truly rewired my brain in order to start incorporating habits that aligned with the highest version of myself. And once I took the pressure off of myself and realized that I trust the vision, I trust myself, and I built the confidence from within, every single action that I took was out of self-love, was out of confidence. So when the food that I would eat it because I truly wanted to eat healthy food, because I realized it makes me feel good, because the highest version of myself would choose this food over the other food. I also had to ask myself the question about the weed. Does the highest version of myself smoke every single day? If the answer is no, then I don't need to smoke and I don't want to smoke, because just coming to the realization that my current habits were keeping me farther from the version of myself that I wanted to be, that was motivation enough to change my habits. And it wasn't completely easy. It wasn't like night to day difference. I just started all these different routines and all these new habits. But now that I had developed the clarity within my mind and I understood exactly what was standing in my way, every single decision that I was faced with suddenly became easy. And I knew immediately anytime I made the wrong decision, because I would know the feeling of what it felt like to revert right back. I didn't have to search for motivation anymore. I didn't have to keep telling myself that I wasn't where I wanted to be. I knew that I was exactly where I wanted to be. And yes, there was this future version of me that existed and that I was going to get to. But there was no doubt in my mind that the actions that I was taking were getting me there, because I looked at my vision board. Every single action, every single habit that she had there, I was becoming. Like Joe Dispenza says, I'm reading one of his books right now. It's really freaking good. It says that when your emotions and your thoughts are in line with one vision, they become like a laser and they can cut through anything. And that is exactly what I experienced by starting to rewire my mind. How did I do this? First, I had to create stillness. Because my nervous system was completely dysregulated, I was in a place of lack, of not trusting, of complete stress. This caused me to avoid my emotions. And so when I wasn't at the gym, when I wasn't training, when I wasn't doing all these crazy things to try to get to my goal weight, I was scrolling. I was distracting myself. I was worried more about what my boyfriend was doing than what I actually could be doing to benefit my mind, my soul, and create a life on my vision board. In order to create that clarity and that peace of mind, I had to meditate. And what meditating does is it essentially clears all the clutter, all the overthinking, all the negative talk in your mind, and it allows you to take a step back and become aware of it. That way, anytime I went to go make a decision when I was actually making this identity change, instead of just reacting and acting off of the moment, I was able to take a step back, look at what the decision I was about to make and say, okay, is this in alignment with the version of me that I'm trying to become? Or is this an old pattern? You can't decipher what decision is going to benefit you versus what decision is going to hold you back if you don't have clarity of mind first. And once I developed that clarity of mind by actually meditating, that's when I was able to journal about the exact things that I'm talking to you about. So I journaled about how I was feeling, about how I truly felt about my body, about how my habits truly made me feel. And once I was able to break all of that down, it became clear to me. I went back through all my journals and I made specific questions that are gonna help you guys realize where exactly your identity is rooted in and actually see the vision for who you're trying to be, so that you can bridge the gap from the version of yourself that's on your vision board and the body and the habits that she has, and what's exactly keeping you stuck from your current state being able to get there. So the main thing that all of these practices taught me was that I didn't trust. I did not trust myself. My nervous system did not trust my body in order to be able to make the decisions that were going to benefit me. I almost felt like I had to make the decisions that influencers online would make, or I felt like I had to make decisions that made logical sense. But as women, we're not logical beings. We are fully fluid, energetic, and emotional beings. So if you have any obstacle in your way of getting to your goal, the first place you should be looking is within your emotions, not anywhere else. And so the journaling, the meditation, what it fundamentally did was it helped me build the trust with myself, to be able to listen to my body clearly and make decisions based off of the highest version of myself who maintains the body of her dreams, not just a girl trying to chase a number on a scale and revert right back to old patterns. I'm gonna be going more in depth on the scientific aspect of how to rewire your brain in some videos ahead that I'm planning, that I'm super excited for. You guys are finally ready to break the toxic cycles that you're in that are keeping you from being able to maintain the body of your dreams long term. The Method Workbooks, it includes a full identity worksheet asking you specific journaling questions that I had to ask myself in order to build the best relationship, rewire my brain, and change my identity from the inside out, along with some recipes, some food guides, and a bunch of other goodies. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys are interested in seeing more from me on a daily basis, be sure to follow my Instagram. I love you guys, and I really hope this video helped. Bye.